Hey guys, Zen here, and today there are over 60 operators in Rainbow Six Siege, and that really shakes things up. With the new season and a ton of changes to sift through, I wanted to give you guys my current list for the top tier operators. Some of the operators in Siege have been overlooked, and some others have been knocked down a peg, and so in this video, we'll highlight some of the more profitable choices with a list of operators I think you'll want to keep your eye on. So to begin, we have Zero. I think Zero represents the perfect blend of utility and lethality in Rainbow Six Siege. Zero, for those who are unfamiliar, comes with the Argus launcher, and it supplies cameras to the attacking team, and the special benefit is that these cameras shoot lasers. This way, if you have a camera around defender utility, you can take it out, and it really doesn't matter how far away the gadgets are either, because the laser has infinite range. And so for a gadget, you can't really ask for much more. You're getting intel with the cameras and the ability to take out defender gadgets at a distance. The final bow on top is being able to deploy these cameras on a reinforced wall and have them pierce through it. This means there is no surface that a Zero Cam can't attach itself to, and really no limitation to where you can get one, unless of course the wall is electrified or jammed. But Zero got an update recently that allows him to choose exactly when the Argus camera pierces through. It used to be that once you shot it onto a wall, it would automatically dig its way to the other side, and because of the noise it makes, it was typically taken out right as it finished. After the update though, you can now shoot a few of these around and manually choose when to finally bury over to the other side, and this makes a world of difference. You can wait until there's an explosion or another loud sound to then dig through and cloak the sound it makes when it's deployed, or set up a few of them on a floor above the objective and choose which ones you want to pierce through and almost play a game of whack-a-mole with the defenders. The options here are almost endless because of the versatility of the gadget, but it doesn't stop there. Zero has both the SC3000K assault rifle and the MP7 as primary weapons, and it's one of the only instances where both are highly effective and highly lethal. Now, I usually go for the SC because it hits like a truck and gets a 2.0 scope, but you can also opt for the MP7 if you're on a more close quarters map and want something light and quick to flick around with a 1.5. And it still doesn't stop there. He gets both a Gon 6 secondary and hard breach charges to round him out. And so for me, I think Zero is an absolute utility dragon in Siege and has his hands in nearly every element of this game. From intel to breaching to gadget destruction and heavy hitting weapons. Honestly, what more are you looking for in Rainbow Six Siege? Zero is a complete operator. Next up is Ram. For me, Ram is the definition of a specialist, and what she specializes in is unmistakably dominant in Rainbow Six Siege. You see, vertical play has typically been a strategy used in the higher tier of ranks because it requires a lot of map knowledge to know where to open up the floor, and it also requires a ton of awareness so that you don't get flanked while you're opening up the ceiling of an objective. And so I think Ram is serving this community and opening up vertical play to all players while also possessing a boatload of utility for everyone to take advantage of. The Boogie is a mini tank equipped with chainsaws, something literally out of a torture nightmare that rips up soft floors and most any gadget standing in its way. What makes her so dominant is that you don't have to put yourself in imminent danger to accomplish this, because the Boogie is a throwable tank with a remote start, and so you can carve out an entire objective ceiling in just a few seconds, all from safety if you can swing it. This opens up a lot of vertical play for the attackers and a sense of uncomfortability for the defenders. And of course, this is only half the story. Ram has access to the R4C and paired with it a 1.5, and people will choose this operator for this combo alone. The R4C hasn't had a zoomed optic for years, and back when it did, it was confirmed that Ashe players chose the R4C at a 99% rate over the G36C. Now, since then, the R4 has had some recoil nerfs and has received some tweaks overall, but it's still an extremely dominant weapon in Siege with its high fire rate and solid damage. Of course, there is the drawback of Ram being a 3 health, which is both a blessing and a curse. Speed has always been a prime stat because of how important it is to be agile throughout the map, but on the flip side, more health on an operator whose task it is to hold down the floor above an objective is a big deal. And so yes, you're not running around at Mach 5 and storming the objective, but you are just as tanky as the Boogie itself, and that will help keep you alive longer. The third piece to this triangle is sound. The Boogie is now the loudest sound in Rainbow Six Siege. It masks nearly every other sound in a way that no other gadget can compare. Even if there's no reason to open up a soft floor or to destroy gadgets in the way, you can call over to Ram to toss out a Boogie and go for a plant, or cruise a clutch drone on site, or even just rotate out of a bad spot. And there's a really good chance that no one will hear those critical sound cues cues. It honestly makes it worth the pick even without the extra bells and whistles, because we all know how vital sound is in Siege. I just don't see any real drawback of choosing Ram. On some of these more roamer heavy maps, it might be a task to actually get to a floor above the objective, but once you do, your impact is undoubtedly strong and will force the defenders away from their favorite hiding spots and expose the rats they truly are. Next up is Rook, and I'm still surprised when I hear this, but not everyone knows the biggest buff that Rook has ever received. Rook now gives his entire team self-revive, and he is also still the simplest operator to use in Rainbow Six Siege. The round starts and you drop the bag. That's it. Better yet, dropping the bag and putting on your own vest are now tied together as one animation, so gone are the days of Rook not putting on his own vest and missing out on all the benefits. I actually think Rook is the best defender for newcomers to gravitate to. Not only is the gadget so incredibly easy to use, but he gets the MP5, which is one of the smoothest shooting SMGs in the game, a super underrated shotgun with the SQ-CQB, and please, use that thing in this shotgun meta and come back and tell us how much you love it. Unless, of course, you've already been in the know about it. And he even gets a 2.0 scope, which is super rare on defense. But as a bonus here, I'll also bundle in Doc. He also received a mega buff a while back, which now makes each stim shot fully heal his teammates. Obviously, Doc has always been strong, but once Thunderbird was introduced, things changed. And so where he's at now, I think is one of the best states he's ever been in and the perfect choice for a healing operator. These two are and probably always have been the foundation of the team. Both big boys at 3 health, they have identical loadouts and they bring gadgets that help their team in fundamental ways. As time has gone on and their popularity slumped, people weren't up to date with all these big changes for them. But I think once again, every single defensive team can benefit from one or both of these operators. And I think if you're new to Rainbow Six Siege, it's a no-brainer to start here. Now, Brava has slowly started to become my favorite drone operator, and if we take a look at the most recent operators that have been released, you'll see why. Like we talked about before, Ram is now in Rainbow Six Siege, and her boogie tanks are the loudest and most chaotic gadgets in the game, which allows for an easy advantage for other ops like Twitch and Brava to take advantage of. For one, yes, there is the sound that helps creeping onto site with really any drone easier to do. But if the tanks are opening up the ceiling, then defenders are looking up while all the secret hacking is happening down at the floor level. And that's an opportunity you're not usually afforded. And so as for help on the attacking side, I think Ram will allow for more drones to get on site and be effective. And over on defense are another few reasons why Brava is just so useful right now. Fenrir, of course, has taken this meta by storm, and he gets a handful of his FNAT mines, which Brava, I think, is the best counter to. Brava takes over anything she hacks, and it becomes friendly for those who don't know. And so having Fenrir's mines for the attackers is big. The other two big reasons are Thorn and Kapkan. Thorn has become ultra popular since she now has a 1.5 on her UZK, and so you're bound to see Razor Blooms sitting around the objective. And Kapkan has become probably the top trap operator overall, and his gadgets will also succumb to the clutch. Now, I will say that Brava has a very high skill ceiling. The clutch is a very large drone and needs to be within range of a gadget to hack it, and so you'll need to have a mastery of the maps and know your time to strike. Thankfully, you can get crafty with Brava's loadout. She gets the Para assault rifle, which I recommend with the 1.5, a vertical grip, and a suppressor now that it doesn't reduce damage. She gets a DMR, which has tons of utility, now being able to open up hatches, and of course the Super Shorty for soft breaching. It's a very balanced loadout that helps Brava get a hold of the gadget she wants and offers up a ton of utility for her team. Now, naturally, there is the debate of Brava or Twitch, and I think it's fair. They serve a similar purpose and bring a comparable gadget. But when it counts, who do you choose? Well, for me, I think that crown belongs to Brava. Twitch is no longer the operator she used to be. Almost every part of her has been nerfed. The shock drone is no longer the stealthy, low-profile cruiser it used to be, and most recently, the F2 lost the vertical grip. Make no mistake, Twitch is still effective, but for me, I'd rather have gadgets working for me than just simply being destroyed. And so I think if you and your stack play a slower, more tactical game, you'll only benefit by having Brava around. At this point, if you're not playing Solis, you either don't have her unlocked or just don't see her full potential. So let's talk about it. Solis is a shutdown operator. She's the only defender with the intel enough to take out every single prep phase drone, and even if they remain outside, that gives her the intel to know which direction the enemy is coming from. She essentially forces the attackers blind by being the hardest and most frustrating counter to their drones. She can predict where the attackers are coming from. If she's roaming, it's nearly impossible to fish her out because using drones are essentially useless, and for all of this, it's because she can see you. Anytime you utilize your utility, Solis can see you. Anytime you drone, she can see the drone and she can see you on your phone. When Jackal is using his Inox gadget, she can see it. When IQ pulls out her scanner, she sees that too. While Nock is lurking about, she can see that. And if you've got traps like a Claymore or a Nomad's air jab, it's all mostly useless against Solis. Also, her goggles have range, and at any moment, she can ping whatever her gadget is seeing for the whole team. And it's just so incredibly oppressive that if you know the enemy is running a Solis, it's best to stay close to the objective and bring more mechanical ops like Buck, Sledge, and Gridlock, just so she can't rely so heavily on her sights. She comes with the P90, which is pretty divisive in the community. Some people love it, and others think it's lacking. For me, I run it with a Hollow A and the suppressor, and I find the larger magazine size makes up for the lackluster damage output. There's also the ITA shotgun as a primary, and it's a totally usable option because she gets the SMG-11 in the secondary slot, so you can kind of play Solis to your preferred playstyle. Now, because of how oppressive this operator is, it has been confirmed that at some point in year 8 or year 9, she will be seeing some change, and so if you haven't felt her power yet, enjoy it while it's still good. Even if you don't walk away with 10 kills a game, the attackers will definitely feel your presence, and you'll more than likely set up your teammates for some easy picks as the round goes on. Now, admittedly, I don't play a ton of Solis, but I know I should, because in all the ways I find it frustrating to lose to the attackers, Solis helps. Like when Jackal is tracking you down, or you have a real drone-heavy team, and of course, facing off against Diana, the #1 attacker in Siege, Solis is a powerful and effective answer to some of those woes. Play Solis. And finally, what may come unexpectedly, but I'm going to recommend you keep a very close eye on Grim. Now, say what you will, but Grim is no longer the operator he launched as, and I think now is being criminally overlooked. Let's just list it off. Commando Assault Rifle, 1.5 and 2.0 optics, 3-speed, an area denial gadget that lasts plenty of time and no longer requires line of sight to be deployed, so you can get bees pretty much anywhere without being seen. A bailiff for soft breach, and for reinforcements, hard breach charges. Grim is a whole utility bucket, and it's like no one is acknowledging this. So let's start with the first argument. It takes too long to get the Hive launcher out. And yes, swapping to this big shoulder-mounted launcher can be cumbersome, but it is no longer dangerous, and that was the initial problem. The spread of the bees is now wide enough that you don't need pinpoint accuracy and a surgical shot, and the fact that they can now be bounced means you don't need direct line of sight. So if you know your angles, you can bounce Hives around from safety and still be effective. But the more jarring issue is that Grim is almost solely being judged for his gadget. Even if the bees were the worst gadget on attack, that doesn't change that everything else is just chef's kiss for him. 1.5 commando, secondary breaching, and 3-speed are super good, while also taking care of hard walls if the dedicated hard breacher goes down. I'll keep this one short because all I think is necessary to say is that I think you may be overlooking a very strong operator, and Grim is not whatever he was at launch. And so yeah, guys, the last few seasons have brought in some very compelling changes, and so if you haven't given some of these operators a chance lately, I think now could be a great time to revisit them or try them out and see what you find. But let me know who you think are this season's top operators and why you do or don't agree with these guys here. A like is always appreciated, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Hey, I'm out.